Greetings. Guten Tag. Talafalava. Bonjour. Bonjour. Right. Nice to catch up with the Snow King Club flock. This is Dr. Snowbrown. Catching up with the Snow King Club flock. Anyway, as I was saying, the preaching about what? My combination lock and the Nightlatch. That's great. This should be a very brief preaching, actually. I guess what I want to point out, as you probably already have seen inside my kingdom, that I am going to file a restraining order against the government of New Zealand. That's great. So that means it will be filed against the Prime Minister, the Crown of New Zealand, I think there will be a separate restraining order for the Minister of Police, Police Commissioner, Police Intelligence Unit. I think there might be probably 4 or 5 restraining orders to be filed. But one that's really important to file, that I must file, is the one against Dan Wilding and the Police Intelligence Unit and the New Zealand Police Association Organisation. But the two main criminal organisations that are part of the New Zealand Police Force, that's the KKK MMB. The MMB, the majority of them, these are KKK associates that are living, that were put here deliberately by the government of New Zealand through the King Order Housing New Zealand ministers, and also through the arrangement that they would have, because these criminals are connected to the Police Intelligence Unit and are also part of the New Zealand Police Organisation via the Police Intelligence Unit or the National Intelligence Centre. That is a jurisdiction governed by Dan Wilding or Dr. Slug. So you can see now the significance, but the seriousness of my case. You've all been laughing, I think, basically, possibly throughout the last 8 years, but the Crown, the government of New Zealand, via the New Zealand Police Organisation, then down through the National Intelligence Centre or the Police Intelligence Unit, while I've been busy doing my work via my registered private company, which is a private order, Christian Kingdom Church TV Limited, via Facebook and then on YouTube, here, minding my own business, doing my own thing, doing my ministry that was registered legally. The government of New Zealand had other ideas. In collaboration, on behalf of my rallies, my evil rallies, and their connections and the elites, as well as the Police Intelligence Unit and the police officer, these criminal organizations, basically the main ones, KKK MMB. You can see that Dan Wilding is a KKK member, not an associate. That organization is run by majority KKK. This country is riddled with criminal organizations. Why are there so many criminal organizations in this country? In New Zealand alone, a 5 million population with over 70 criminal organizations. Why does it need to have that many criminal organizations? It is part of the Apartheid Treaty Partnership, but it also will indicate to you in general for the global community, as well as the national and international community, that this country, starting from the very top, from the Prime Minister, downwards through the system, and through the government departments and everywhere else, and the New Zealand Police Force and the military, they are all sick with pedophilia, as well as erotomania or adultery and incest. But pedophilia is the one sickness, the common denominator, that is like the core that runs through the system. It's like it's the blood life of this country, pedophilia. That is why the people of Aotearoa have prospered in the last of 180, 190 years since the signing of the treaty. And especially during the so-called era of criminal organizations, the very first one that started 1962, and then before that, that first criminal organization, which is the red one that I've been targeted by, and the KKK one, was established. The New Zealand Security Intelligence Service, the department or the organization that is governed by or run by Andrew Hampton, who is the Director General. That was established in 1956. So 6 years later, the first criminal organization was established. So I am, forced to believe, without a doubt, or the shred of a doubt, that the very first criminal organization that was established in 1962, that became part of the New Zealand Security Service, or the Security Intelligence Service organization. And even until today, not only that, they make more money. The government of New Zealand makes more money by every time they create a new criminal organization in this country, they make more money. And that is because money is donated. They have their so-called donors from overseas. Every criminal organization here and every associate, and those president that heads those criminal organizations, people overseas, the donors, these are wealthy benefactors and wealthy business people that are actually sick with pedophilia and sick with erythemia, but especially pedophilia. They're the ones who give them millions. And by now, it has gone to the billions. So these criminal organizations, and especially the people of Aotearoa, majority of them are part of those criminal organizations. And even the military, right? So that is why they are now respected in this country, is because of so much money. They bring in more money than most citizens in this country. And every time somebody signs up to a criminal organization, a donor, money is available. There is a donor available already overseas, ready, on standby, to donate, to wire, to send those millions over. And it's to feed the sickness of addiction, or the sickness of pedophilia, incest, adultery, but more so pedophilia. So that is the blood life of this country. It is their bread and butter. These criminal organizations, right? That unit, the police intelligence unit, that is headed by Dan Welding, that's correct. Even they now bring in, at the most, it's over billions now. That unit, the National Intelligence Center, is worth billions now. That is my belief. And yet our benefits have been, increased by, say, $5 every $5 or even, $10 every year. When it should have gone to, say, by now, we should have had over $100. So while I've been busy in the last 8 years, like I said, or 7 years doing my ministry, and doing things the right way, keeping my nose clean, despite the fact that, I am very bold and I'm outspoken. Understandably, I grew up in this country, so that's why I have that attitude. But it's not just that. And I think that when you are a sheep or a shepherd that has been put through, that has been targeted and bitten too many times by the wolves of this country, or by the so-called the toxic criminals, well, you can understand now why I would preach that way. But the guardian angels of love is the one who preaches through me. So most times because I know that most of my teachers that know me very well, back in the days. From primary school to intermediate to college, they know me very well that I have never been this bold. In fact, I've been more, I tended to be a very quiet, you know, just really quiet and subdued and mellowed student. I wasn't this bold, and I wasn't this outspoken. And a lot of the things that I've said, and even the swear word, my teachers wouldn't even hear that. And even at the church, they have never known me to use that many colorful, obscenities. I think it was when I when I earned a kingdom and had a crown and ascended to a throne, that's great, with a new Godhead. That's when but of course, living among the wilderness people, I'm going to somehow, my spiritual journey, I'm going to sound different. I'm going to change. I'm going to transform. Right. As you can understand now, my case is really serious because I should have been paid for my services in the last 7 years, even if it wasn't good enough. There are people out there, they don't do a very good job, but they get paid their entitlements, whether it be the minimum wage or something. That's great. They don't go without payment. Now, I'm wondering, just imagine if I wasn't on the benefit. And maybe this was probably the other reason why the government of New Zealand took full advantage of my tenancy here and allowed the treaty partnership, the apartheid treaty partnership people to take advantage of my tenancy here, was because I was on the benefit, on the so-called, the sickness benefit. Although it's not called that, it's called supported living allowance now. So I imagine if I didn't have that funds to fall back on, I wouldn't be able to do what I do. Or I would still be able to, preach, but I just wouldn't be able to eat or probably drink. There would be no food for me on the table. I probably would have to work, as in get an extra job. That's great, right? Because no one was willing to pay for my services. They just assume, and they love to think that my services, why my preaching was free. How can you make such a cruel assumption? When you consider everybody that does a job here in this country, whether it's be sweeping outside, cleaning the yards, mowing the lawns, or cleaning up trash, picking up trash, they're getting paid. Meanwhile, in the last 7 years for me, I've just been more so just something that New Zealand, more so the commoners and criminals that were not so, smart. And we're so sick with pedophilia and sex addiction because all that we're doing all day is having sex and drinking up and getting high and wrecking people's lives. That's great. And wrecking stuff and defaming people committing crimes and making fun. I was like a laughing stock to them. Now, I'm telling you right now, I won't be a laughing stock when I come to court, because I should have been paid for my services. But your government did something, and I believe it was the Police Intelligence Unit. And I also believe it was the people that were sick with pedophilia and sex addiction in your country that are really racist, that's great, that are part of that unit. You guys were the culprit that actually, that's great, deliberately denied me my livelihood, my right to receive, payment for my services. Now, is that the right thing to do? To go and fuck some elite? Or fuck the police commissioner? Or even fuck somebody in the New Zealand Police Force so that you can deny me, whatever privilege, let alone restrict my access to the services of work and income? And yet, I've been here 42 years. I've been a citizen of your country for 42. I've been a fucking good citizen. I haven't entered your jailbird house like a lot of you. That's great, you losers. And you got the nerve to do this to me? So I've just discovered. How could the University of Victoria University take direction or respect the rights of, say, the likes of Looney Tune, maniac people, crazy people that are called KKK. How can you apply their dictatorships and accept their authority inside a learning institution? That's great. I thought Dr. Vitaly Bennett was such a person. He was an associate of the KKK. Because if he was part of the police intelligence unit from back, say, even back before 96 in the 80s and 90s, why would you respect just because he became a doctor, he got his doctorate? I bet you people like Dan Weldy, Matthew Palmer, Anthony Shaw, maybe John Miller. I don't think so, but I wouldn't be surprised. And other Pākehās, very powerful Pākehās, that were part of the treaty partnership, and even Maoris were supported Atua Vitaly Bennett completing his doctorate, helped him to complete his thesis. But you see, he was aiming at something. That Samoan, that's great. That man, that evil man, was aiming at something. All these years, back in '96, when they set me up with your rallies, when my rallies set him up with me, and he was the reason he was aiming at. And I guess when I said that I wanted to get my doctorate one day, I suppose he took that dream of mine. That's great, because he never had the idea that he would ever go for a doctorate. That's great, right? But he's got so many qualifications. It's not funny. It's great. But back in and I think that it was the police intelligence unit, and it was also the elites, and they probably were funding his PhD thesis, because he was well known in the region of Wellington as Dave. Now, I think that the friendship that when I befriended him was a very brief friendship. That's great. But of course, I lost my so-called, that's great. He only violated me 3 times, but I wasn't ready for sex at that age, 23, 24. That's great. And I don't consider that to be a relationship at all. But for some odd reason, Dr. Vitaly Bennett has been doing a lot of collaborations. That's great. Not only with the university, but also with the likes of Dan Weldy, the Police Intelligence Unit, the Police Commissioner, Richard Chambers. These powerful elites. He would have gone and manipulated them and poisoned them with his lies. About me? That's correct. And it was about control. It was about the fact that if he wasn't going to have me, because, when I found out I was ready for a relationship and I wasn't really interested in sex. But when I told my parents what had happened, my father rang, and I've never been inside his home, thank God. And I never did. And I think at that time I was in the dark. How was I supposed to know that that would be considered as an affair? That's correct. If you were, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, I was naive and gullible. And I was young, 23 going on 24. And that was my first, sexual encounter. That's correct. But anyway, 3 times, that was it. Had to tell the parents that I had, and a mother rang up. And sure enough, discovered, to my horror, that the man is actually happily married and he has 3 children. Meaning, he lied, this correct, about his marital status. He said he was separated. No, he wasn't separated. He was never separated. He's always been happily married. And I've been led up the garden path. That's correct. So after all these years, at the age of 52 now, going 53, you know what? I have learned a lot. Because I have been taken advantage. Yeah, you learn the hard way, but you soon learn, indeed, that you need to grow. And I mean, sometimes I'm thinking, the fact that he actually targeted me all these years, and yet the man was happily married, but why was he stalking me in my rallies behind my back? I mean, once you know that somebody was happily married, that he lied about marital status, I wasn't even interested in him. My heart wasn't even in it. That's great, because somebody was trying to force me to do something against my will. Meaning, if he made advances, I wasn't making advances to him. That's great. Right. And I didn't, it was first, hello, I'm not even interested. That's great. And obviously he wanted to make me one of his whore. I wouldn't know that at that age. I was young and naive. That's great. But I soon learned. And once I knew that he was happily married, well, I really was so shocked but horrified and traumatized by it. That's correct. And I remember what it was like to be traumatized, to be taken advantage of, to be lied to. But that's what married men do. They do it all the time. That's correct. They don't care. They like having sex outside the marriage arrangement. They like to play around, fool around, and cheat. The wife doesn't care because he's always going to come back home. He's always going to end up back, His heart is with his wife. All the so-called extras and single, this great side shows out there, they haven't got a chance. And I learned that lesson. That's great. But I wasn't even crazy over Aopedophilia. Right? I really wasn't crazy. But I guess at that time I was a loner. And I just started. No, I hadn't started. With 96. After I had graduated in 1995 from my degree, bachelor. It only took me 3 years. It's great to complete. And I was now trying to do Bachelor of Honors. But it was a mistake. Anyway, after 96, 3 months or 4 months, it was all over. Thank God. And, your mother was probably the vice. And the irony is, the man has been stalking me. He's a married man, but he's stalking me all these years. Through my rallies, that's correct. And he's actually very sick with Aopedophilia. But I've just discovered that the majority of the men, the police officer knows Mr. Prick really well. Really well. And Matthew Palmer knows him really well. So the problem with men like that is that men know what to say to other men. And men know how to poison and manipulate other men. That whatever they say, they're not going to believe anything I say. And they're not going to respect my authority. But they will respect some serial rapist authority, and it's because they're a man. And also because there is the majority, over the minority kind of thing. So my combination lock, my Nightlatch, let's get back to my Nightlatch and combination lock. Funniest thing is, when you live in a gang-infested address, it's not enough to install just one lock on your door. You have to have at least 2 to 3 locks. This, in a lot of movies, where you see with mafia and in a lot of movies, that's great, where you see families that are living next to gang members, and even gang members or criminals, they have 3 locks, either at the maximum 3, or maximum 4 to 3 locks, or 2 locks. That's great. So I decided that because I was having unlawful entries, I was having a lot of unlawful entries upstairs, and this amounted to drugging and poisoning, because you could feel those tortures on your feet. And this all came from the police intelligence unit. That's great. These sort of harms that I was subjected to, tortures and cruelties. Anyway, I got fed up with the unlawful entry upstairs. Gang order wasn't doing nothing, wasn't intervening, wasn't stopping the criminals, and despite it was also me that got them to install the cameras upstairs, and the cameras on here at the ground level, the first level, and up the second level. That's great. And this would have been about the 2021, 2026. Now, Dwayne Ayau, Waihape, that's great. This is a serious, notorious, dangerous Mongol mob member. That's correct. How did I get his name and his details? It was the fact that at one stage, I don't know what happened, but would have been a couple of years ago. I think he actually deliberately put in my mailbox official letters of Inland Revenue. These were 2 letters, and I've got copies of them that are on my USB that are going to be used for my restraining order as evidence at the courts for a stalking and harassment. That's correct. That he had actually put it in my mailbox. That's how I got his full name. But how did I get his name on the trespass notice? Now, it took ages for me to try and get that information. It was a neighbor outside, Natasha Tamapara, the person who lives at that address, 11B, I believe, Flora McCurdy Walk. They called out. I said, do you know Dwayne's last name? The one that the tenant that lives upstairs in number 10. Now, they have moved. Since 2023, I think they moved out, and the family, the couple with the 3 children, or the 3 teenagers, moved out of here. Anyway, that's how I got his name and was able to serve him a notice, trespass notice, that of course he just left it outside the door. This is what I'm learning also with, being a half-caste Pākehā. A lot of my authority isn't respected. It is not respected by any of the elites. Well, I think it's obvious when they do this setup here. And it's obvious when they give the okay, the go-ahead to the police intelligence unit, my rallies, and even the criminals inside this building and everybody else in this region of the Wellington to subject me to dictatorships, tortures and cruelties, like delays, like drugging, like poisoning, that's correct, or tampering with my appliances, dictating to my appliances by unlawful entries coming in, adding extra fees on charges that normal people would say, you know what, that's a set fee. You've been overcharged. Well, somebody should have said that. I wouldn't have known that until I discover that, hey, Dan Weldy, if he's a wizard, then you can be sure that if you live among a gang-infested address with these types of criminals, you can be sure that the KKK is always going to apply their harmful protocols from that police intelligence unit. So that is the New Zealand police. So that's why they couldn't arrest anybody inside this building. It was because the ministers, and I'm talking about the elites, who gave the okay, and this can also include Jacinda Ardern, the prime ministers, right, down to the ministers and those that were part of that unit, can tell them, that, oh, don't make any arrest. Ignore the complaints. Just put it on bad law. This is what I'm telling you about this treaty, apartheid treaty partnership, this country. It is the most evil regime. It is the most evil, that's correct. Because sex is more important in this country. If you don't give your asshole or your ass to any Maori in this country, because that is part of the treaty partnership, then you're likely to be dealt to, and you're going to be either taught a lesson or you're going to be denied something. And this is what's been happening to me. Now, this shouldn't happen to me because there are lots of people here in the community and even the rest of the Wellington region that they're not subjected to those type of harmful dictatorships. Why not? It's because they're not living among gang members. They're not living in a so-called, in an address that is governed by the Kainga Ora Housing New Zealand organisation. And also it's because they're not dictated to. They haven't been targeted by the police intelligence unit. But the majority of the treaty partnership, they are part of the police intelligence unit. So that's why somebody like me, if I want to prosper, and I don't want to be hassled about this, this creepy, sick, sex protocol that's going on between the treaty partnership, then I need to leave this country. But if they're going to make it harder for you to leave the country, then you need to go to court. Otherwise, you can kill somebody. And then you can leave. Kill all your enemies, and then you can leave. But under the circumstances, it's no wonder. I've had to do. I had no choice but to do the Night Templar program. That was my only hope to get out of this country, to be able to leave this country. For sure. Now, I don't know what's going on with the government of New Zealand. Why do I need to stick around here? Why do these people need to come inside my flat every time I have to go out? So what exactly are you wanting from me, New Zealand? I mean, you're having sex. You're getting high all day. You're having sex all day. You're drinking booze all day. You're raping and molesting, what children you can get your hands on, what persons or personas you can get your hands on. And yet your government even protects your bad behavior. Your delinquency, that's great. You're crazy, savagery way of behaving. Your lawlessness. How can a government like this protect your that's right. Aid you and abet you and still be able to put up and feed you and give you whatever you want. And then use the decent so-called citizens that you want to study. But it's not enough. You see, the reason why you have gone the way that you have, Atua Dr. Tawitali Pine is a pedophile and a sexual predator and a sexual pervert, right? And also he's got something against this one here. But it looks like the entire criminal organizations, the MNB and the KKK, have been after my noble ass, that's great, since 96, because they weren't satisfied with what they were probably watching. Or time to been at the time. That's great. And it wasn't enough for them. And I got away. I guess, did I slip under his hand or did I slip from, that's correct, because that's it. People like that don't like that kind of thing. When they want you, when you have sex with them, they want the whole thing. And not just a pretending little thing. That's great. I left the scratch. Because it's about what? This country, like I said, the blood life is pedophilia. And blood life also is sex addiction. And they got a lot of donors from overseas. That's correct. And donors as well. But more so overseas. It can only be America, Australia. They got a lot of donors from Australia. Amen. And a lot of them are from the military. That's real power, isn't it? How fine. How mighty. Yeah, but why do they need to steal your stuff? That's correct. What is the government of New Zealand? You know what? Let's talk first about, continue on finishing my so-called Nightlatch combination locks. Anyway, like I said, if you live in a gang-infested address like this, where they're going to be, and if there's a brothel going on inside this address, and if you hear children screaming for life, for their dear lives, because they're being raped and molested, right? If you've got these type of criminals and sex offenders, I bet you a lot of them have been charged with sex crimes and are serial rapists. And if they have a brothel running inside this building, where they've got police officers coming in, tradesmen coming in, and even military men coming in to engage in sex with them, and even a lot of local Pākehā men and other type of men coming here to have, it might also be the firemen who come here to have sex with them, or the local police, that's correct, right? Or even the paramedics are coming here to have sex with them, right? You got all sorts of people. So that's why I decided to get me a combination lock from Trade Me, or I could find one, to install upstairs. So that's why I then decided, you know what, as my tenancy progressed, as I noticed, started to get harmed, it's getting a lot of drugging, poisoning from the police intelligence unit again, and I needed to be protected from that. So what was the one way? I needed to have a night latch, so that I would feel safe if I was inside if I was sleeping and walking around and doing business. I needed to lock that latch, because these sex offenders, you had all sorts of people. These people are constantly pretending to knock on my door, to press the buzzer, to make all sorts of blimmin' excuses, to get my attention or to get me to open the door. So I decided, hey, there's a peeping hole there. I do not need to open the door if they are not a tradesperson. And I do not need to speak to them unless if it's somebody that is, like these people that are going around advertising for new energy companies or telephone companies or broadband. That's correct. But even so, I would just call out and say, sorry, I'm not interested. Thanks anyway. So then I installed the combination lock. I was thinking, let's have peace of mind. That's correct. And the lovely, the Russian man who came to install it, he had to drill the holes for the first time upstairs. So I would have been the only tenant out of also all the tenants inside the building that would have installed a combination lock as well as a night latch. Now, for a director of a company, if you want to protect your contents, anything that's any valuables inside your property or in your flat, you need to install a combination lock, right? As well as a night latch. It's a must. You need to do that. And also, like I said, if there are gang members living in this address, you need a combination lock. Problem is, there was a camera right outside. So every time I would have pressed the combination lock, Kangaora would have noticed the combination being punched in. So that didn't help my situation, because now I know that the criminals inside this building were put here by the police intelligence unit, but also were put here by the government of New Zealand, the people of Aotearoa, the Maori elites, and Kangaora ministers. Right, they were put here for that. Purpose was to not only to experiment, to apply a lot of experiments, but to start cultivating the criminal dictatorships and other harmful protocols to get me used to it from the police intelligence unit. Right. It's really nasty but cruel to do that. For somebody like me, I have never been subjected to these kind of harms, although there have been other harms before I came here in the previous address that my family at Whitemans Valley, where the second nosebleed happened. That's correct. I mean, as well as the first, I believe it was the first nosebleed, and the third nosebleed happened here. I've got evidence that will get your government dissolved, Parliament dissolved, because your government is guilty, as well as the unit, the police intelligence unit, and my rallies, and the police commissioner, of covering up, of aiding and abetting and covering up a serial rapist, and that is the police officer, and those that were co-conspirators who actually told him to do that, and those are elites that were watching what happened. There is a lot of people locally, as well as especially the criminals inside this wing, that knows what the police officer did to me during the lockup, the rape crime, and all the harms that I have received. I think this case, it would be like Almarillia Trevorround, Dr. Snow Brown, versus New Zealand Police Organisation and KKK MB with rallies and associates. That's kind of like what the case is going to be. So it'll be me up against the New Zealand Police Organisation. And every harm that's come my way, every decision, abusive, extreme decision that I've been given, administrative, whether it be from the university, 6 years banning, it has all come from the New Zealand Police Organisation. Even the rape crime even these harms that have been happening inside here, these are all police brutality. That is what it's called. The rape crime, that is a police brutality. The induced ear infection that took me 3 weeks to recover from, that's a police brutality. All the drugging and poisoning that's been going on here, this is all police brutality. The 5 years banning from over there, the local social club, that is also police brutality, because all these harmful decisions and dictatorships came from the unit, the police intelligence unit, after they had a collaboration about it. I mean, it's always a collaboration of some sort. So the other thing that I have learned, so as a director, I had a right to install a combination lock of a private company because I had valuable contents. Kaingaora wasn't all there. They were like, they were away with the clouds, hanging up there, discreet somewhere. They didn't see, they have no common sense. They have no tactical sort of safety, awareness. Although they are aware, but they're not there because they're high on sex. The majority of everybody that's part of the organization, they are all having sex at the unit with criminals and even with the elites, like the police commissioner. The former one, Andrew Costa, and the current one, Richard Chambers. So you understand now why Kaingaora, the services of Kaingaora, as in the tradespeople who are, might be Louise Felinley, it might be beverage locksmith, or any other tradespeople, right? It is important for me as a client, as a tenant of Kaingaora Housing New Zealand, to sign an agreement. I should always be able to access their services because I am one of their clients or tenant, right? If I want, my locks to be changed, upgraded, that's my right. I can ask for it to be upgraded and changed. I did not come here so I can leave my door open for other tenants, for everybody else, for every other Dick and Harry to come walking into my flat and have a peek, have a pervert, and then do whatever it is that you want. You know what? I'm not an open book for you, nor am I an open door for you, right? But that's what Kaingaora House in New Zealand, that's the kind of protocol they gave these criminals inside this building, and every other Dick and Harry, possibly in the local township, to want to come and have a nosy. It's because I'm a royal. I'm not a commoner. I'm not a commoner, and I'm not a criminal. Why do they need to feel the need to enter somebody like me? It's like some kind of celebrity. Because you people are common as anything. You eat any pussy that comes to you. You are so common, that's correct, on that level. You can't tell the difference, can you? I mean, this is how it is. If a little child say, why is my daddy eating my pussy? And this is a 10-year-old in this country. Why is my uncle eating my pussy out? Why is my brother eating my pussy out? And they're in a criminal organization. Why is this strange military man, eating my pussy? This is a 10-year-old, by the way. And same for a 15-year-old or a teenage. You know what? They haven't earned the privilege. They don't even know what that is. That's correct. They don't even have the experience, but the adulthood, awareness to understand what that man or what that woman is doing to them. That's correct. Only somebody that loves you will do that for you. That's correct. Or only when you're married. You got to wait for the right one. But that kind of privilege is like a reward. A man and a woman marries. And sex is what is used to glue the marriage together. Or it's like their reward that you have to enjoy. So instead of smoking and drinking and getting high, they have sex. That's great. And sex. But when you are doing it like that, which is what is practiced in criminal organizations and even via the unit, man, you really are a fool. But you really are how would I call it? You're like an animal. You don't know any better. You eat whatever it comes before you. That's great. So it's like saying, oh, well, I ate my daughter's pussy. I ate my niece's pussy. I ate my sister's pussy. And these are men in criminal. That's what you practice, your criminal. But that's what you practice among your people. That's why I never want your people. I had to cut my guardian angel said no to your people being included in my so-called monarch, private monarch. No. Because you're still in the dark ages and you are not likely to come to salvation. Now, you want your treaty partnership is an apartheid treaty partnership, to be respected and to be given some sort of noble status. Now, you can't use somebody like me's intellectual property, like my private monarch, to give you that kind of recognition and even to raise your so-called, self-esteem. That's great. Because you are a slut and a whore in a wolf's clothes. You're not a sheep in wolf's clothes. But you're not even a goat in wolf's clothes. That's great. You've gone that far. Beyond that far. That's great. And you're not headed by a shepherd, are you? You know, what I don't understand is why the government of New Zealand had to put their foot and their butt and even their mouth, that's correct, into my intellectual property. The way I see it, you ministers and the Prime Minister, excuse me, your job is your lawmakers, your policy makers. You delegate those kind of, the administration, the laws of the lands and everything else. But you're not a shepherd. You're not qualified, to make decisions or to dictate to my intellectual property. I'm more qualified than all of you. You don't have the discernment that I've got. You got more the discernment of a pedophile and a sex addict than you would as a national pastor. Right. So you're not experienced. The people of Aotearoa, your people are not sheeps and are not shepherds. And you don't know anything about shepherding, pastoring and ministry. All you know is having sex all day, getting high all day, drinking all day, having fun, where you are controlling and dictating to other people and denying other people their opportunities, their hopes and dreams. Why are you being such a pain in the ass and a menace? Why can't you go and create your own YouTube channels that you can dictate to, that you can hook the police intelligence unit organization to it and do whatever you want? But you need to do that kind of thing to me? We're not on the same foot. We're not on the same ground. I'm a noble, and you're not. That's great. I'm a meek noble. That's great. Now you want to use the excuse once again that olo mai? You what mai have I got? I'm the doctor here, by the way, and you are all the patients. And I've been preaching the hell out of you in the last 7 years. And I'm pretty sure that a lot of you, but you see, it's not going to sink in because you're still in the dark ages. And you still, you love your apartheid treaty partnership more because of the sex protocol. Right? Sex is your food and your blood life. Right? Without that, I don't know, you probably look like an idiot that's lost in the storm or lost out there in the wind. If you didn't have the apartheid treaty in the form of criminal organizations and the unit. Dan Waldy, when you said you had 500 staff in your unit, that's great, who do all the works, I'm thinking, what does that mean, literally? That when you have 500 staff working for the unit, it means 500 dictators and harassers and stalkers right? Because with each staff, they will lodge a dictatorship into the computer and the system, and then they go and they go and send it out to the center, and then they go and put it, enact it and practice it and apply it. So every complaint or caller that calls up the unit, they make a complaint, and this is the privilege of the treaty people here in this country who are spies. And by the way, real crybabies. They call up the unit, they complain to Dan Weldy or the staff, whomever, then they lodge that complaint into the system, and then the system, puts it all together. We have formed this is what the system has come up, and this is the outcome. All right, you're going to delay that person's so-called order through warehouse or so for a couple of days, or even for the next 48 hours as a penalty for the complaint that's just been lodged. Now, what the hell am I making some sense to some of you out there? Especially the Christians. Do I make sense? Do you understand what I'm talking about? I've never been inside the police intelligence unit. I don't even know what it looks like, but I can see it's like a call center kind of setup. That's great. And Dan Waldy's right there in his office. Waving his wand, that's great. His wizard wand. Getting everything done. And you wonder what the New Zealand police actually do. Not much, really. I think probably 70% of their time is spent on gang-related, crimes or that kind of thing. 70%. That includes them having sex with the criminals, applying their protocols to satisfy. So now they're taking advantage of the criminals, and the criminals are taking advantage of them. Isn't it convenient? Yeah. So do you understand now why I couldn't be part of the unit? Well, I've never rung up the unit to lodge a dictatorship, because that's what the people of Aotearoa, the treaty people, have been doing in this country. The Pākehā and the Maoris. That's great. Does it not make you wonder how they seem to drive big trucks? That's probably paid by a donor from Australia. Or that's probably a truck that's been sent by a donor from Australia or in another country. So New Zealand, I'm going to be saying goodbye to your country. That's great. So for Kainiola to decline my, assistance to help me to reinstall my so-called combination lock, that's great. And the so-called, that's great. It's silly. Especially if there's been a lot of criminal dictatorship that amount to unlawful entries. And that's great. As a director, if you live in a property that supposedly it's got a temporary permit on it, or some sort of leased permit on it, it is your responsibility to make sure that those locks are upgraded. So it might be every 6 months. That means the passcode needs to be changed. That's great. The Nightlatch needs to be, that is part of what it means to be a director of a company. And so it also means like that if you're living in among criminals like these ones that are constantly plotting and scheming and premeditating a crime to take place, to give you some sort of harm, you need those locks to be changed and upgraded. Now, Kainiola, of course, I don't know what kind of organization are they. They're not quite, like I said, they're not quite glued there. They're away with the wolves or with the witches. They're in La La Land. They're in La La Land. And so they don't care. This is what I've discovered. That's great. And the government of New Zealand only respects, and this is what happened, what Jacinda Ardern made it very clear, that the people of Aotearoa rights, the treaty people, were more important than anybody else in this country. Now I'm going to say, you know what? My flock is more important. My rights as a natural pastor, as a new clergyman, and even as a director and even as a graduate are more important, because I am 1 in 5 million. And I want to be able to enjoy my full privileges that unfortunately somebody has stolen and eaten it up, gobbled it up, that's correct, and has relinquished it for some odd reason. Your people need to not to be jealous. But unfortunately, you're always going to target me because you're sick with pedophilia. Your people, when they wanted sex from me, the only way that you could get your way, or that you thought you're going to get sex from me, was to go through the police intelligence unit, go through the elites, cover the whole system, and even cover everybody in the system. And then put these people inside this building. So this is the way, this is what the people of Aotearoa does. Through the Pākehā in this country, to get their way, this is how true bullies get their way. That's correct. They got to go through powerful elites. That's correct. And then at the end of the day, when their people are still roaming around and are still hanging out for extras, or hanging out for an opening, like a peephole, or an opening where they're going to take the opportunity of raping me again. That's correct, like what the police officer did. Because that's exactly what this setup is going to lead to. Another rape, no, probably multiple rapes. I guess they had expected that if I moved here on the 29th of April 2012, until now, they were hoping that they were going to be able to come in whenever they wanted and have sex with me. It didn't happen. It didn't happen. It didn't happen. Fortunately, thank God that there was a God above me. And that was Queen Star Brown. And there were my angels right there to protect me. And to keep me safe and to watch over me. So what's the other thing about living here in this address? It is dangerous. It is really dangerous to live among pedophiles and sex offenders and criminals like these. These are hardcore gang members. They are used to having sex all day. These people could have sex all day. I know. Non-stop. They are hardcore sex addicts. And that's all they know. And that's all they know. That's correct. There's no time for God. There is no time for anything else that's good. That's correct. So it is dangerous to live among these sort of people. Amen. Because I could be controlled, I could be harmed in any form. If I'm not aware of what's going on. Kainga doesn't care because they are all sick with pedophilia. Pedophilia is a really, I'm sorry, but this country should be called, Aopedophilia. New Zealand / Newphilia. So Aopedophilia / Newphilia. That's the name of this country. That's what it should be called. Because that's exactly what it is. And I thought, and you all thought I was crazy. The other thing, not to live among these sort of people, is that whatever you do, whatever decision making you do, whether it be accessing services out there or even doing any business dealing with shopping and whatnot, you'll find that unit and these criminals are always going to be dictating, adding their extra penalties, their extra baggages and extra burdens and extra dictatorships on your dealings. That's correct. On your daily dealings, and especially outside shopping dealings and business dealings. You're going to find that they will always be harassing and stalking you in the back by their associates. So that's why I have to file my restraining order against Dan Wildy, who runs that outfit, as well as the Minister of Police and the Police Commissioner, because they are all in collaboration and all in agreement with the people of Aotearoa. People of Aotearoa, you people need to, seriously, your people, they should pass a law where people that are sick with pedophilia and incest and also erotomania should be banned from having any children. I mean, banned from having any children. And that those people that are taking advantage of the social welfare system, where you got so many, you're in a bigamy kind of empire, type of relationship thing, where you're having multiple partners, but you're claiming for, all this money, this greed. You know what you should get? You should be banned from having any relationship outside that, only one relationship. And people that are married in this country that are also taking advantage of their marriage certificates and also the protocol of having sex with the unit to dictate to other people and to get stuff from it and to get paid or bribery, you all should be banned from doing that, having sex outside the marriage arrangement. In fact, you should be arrested and put in jail for having sex outside the marriage arrangement. Yeah, those are the kind of laws that your government should pass, but I can't see it happening because you're in the dark ages and you like to have sex with other couples. You love having sex with children. You love having sex with your own relationships. It has become so bad. That's great. The Sodom and Gomorrah, the second Sodom and Gomorrah, this country. It is that bad that I don't want to hang around. I can't be bothered. I mean, even staying put here at this address is even more dangerous because you've got these eavesdropper and spies and sex offenders, sex addicts inside this building. It creates a very unsafe, but even a very dangerous environment. That's correct. And then for me to go out there, and even when I'm avoiding going to functions, because I know there's going to be a hell of a lot of pedophiles, just look at them in that corner. And over there is, adulterers club right there. Over there, we've got the incest club. And over there, we've got the swingers club. Well, I think I've made my case. Pray for me, Snow King Club Flock. Snow Friends. It's Richard My Nights at Chiefs. The 150 Days War Program. Vibration of Mother Special. Sorry, lost. And you know what? Do the right thing. Do the right thing, and you will always be protected by the angels. Do the wrong thing, and you might get a surprise. That's correct. So keep keeping the straight and narrow path. If you can. If you can't keep to the straight and narrow path, get a rope, put it out there, and try to walk on it. Get it? Teach yourself to walk on the straight and narrow path. Yeah, get a rope and just, outside and have a walk on it, like you're walking on the tightrope. If you can do that, then you can walk. You can walk in the straight and narrow path. If you can't do that, well, then just go to the open road. Except somebody's going to run you down. Amen. Thank you for your time. Thank you for lending your ears. Thank you for being so patient. That's great. Well, let's just say, thank you for being so creative and teaching me a lesson in so many ways. It's not funny. All those men that have been dictating to me and trying to control me, you're all married. What the hell are you doing? None of you is married to me. None of you that's great. I don't know what's going on, but there's something disturbing going on in your country where you are all being poisoned and brainwashed. And I see the mark of the beast on all of you, and that's the problem. So the problem is with the government of New Zealand and the rest of all of you is that once you have sex with an elite, with a member of an elite, or a member of the unit, or a member of the police force, that's it. They got you. They got you. Once you bite the apple, that's great. That's it. They got you. There's no hope for you anymore. That's great. You've become part of their alliance, their treaty partnership. You have become part of their will. That's great. Right. You are now officially a slave. Amen. But one that is always going to enjoy sex, of course, galore. Until one day you get cancer. Or until one day somebody dongs you on the head and knocks you unconscious, and knocks you on cold. Or one day you slip and you crack your head. Amen. Peace out. Right. Auf Wiedersehen. Alles Gute. Laftai lava. Maria lava tau aso. Mal tau po. Mal tau tai hao. But most of all, don't mess with me. Don't challenge me. You cannot. You are forbidden. You don't have a right to challenge a crowned head. Do you know that? Especially one that has been ordained naturally by the gods above. God and Jesus and Queen Snow Brown. All right. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, amen. In the name of Queen Snow Brown, Son of the Holy Spirit, amen.